Okay, try and picture this. You're in Venice, the historic canals, that late summer sun hitting the water. And these elegant water taxis, they're not just for tourists, right? They're ferrying, like the absolute elite of cinema. Hollywood legends, visionary directors all heading to the Lido. You can almost feel the anticipation, the red carpet's out on the sand. But Venice, it's always struck me as more than just, well, a glamorous party. It's where the art and, I guess, the business of film really crash together. Sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes it's pretty provocative.
That's exactly it. That's what makes Venice so fascinating year after year. It manages to bridge that gap between, big commercial potential and real critical acclaim.
Yeah.
It often acts as this, like a barometer for the whole cinematic year ahead. Which kind of brings us to the main question, doesn't it? Beyond all the stars and the sparkle, what actually makes this festival a must-watch event? Where are the real cinematic statements being made?
And that's exactly what we're diving into for you today. Think of this as your essential guide, your shortcut to getting clued up on the 82nd Venice Film Festival. It kicks off this week. We're going to unpack the key things, who's arriving in style, which films are already making waves, and why Venice is still such a big deal in the global film world. We'll touch on the A-listers, the amazing directors, the sheer variety of films, and yeah, its role in starting the Oscar buzz and sometimes some really tough conversations. So let's start with those grand entrances. Venice has this amazing knack for mixing old world charm with peak modern stardom. The star power this year seems, oh, well, pretty undeniable. You can just imagine those A-listers pulling up in the water taxis to the Lido Resort, hundreds of fans lining the docks. But what does all that star power really mean for the festival itself beyond just the photos?
Well, it's actually a crucial insight into why Venice stays so relevant. The fact that it can pull in such high-caliber talent consistently says a lot about its prestige. And it's a launchpad, right? Take Julia Roberts. She's making her Venice debut this Friday. Her film is Luca Guadagnino's After the Hunt. Now, it's playing at a competition, so it's not up for the big awards. It's about a sexual assault case at a U.S. university. But having Roberts there, it instantly puts a huge spotlight on the film, guarantees global attention.
Ah, okay. So it's not just who shows up, but the weight their presence carries for their particular project. Makes sense. And George Clooney's back too. He always seems to be a crowd favorite there. He's in Noah Baumbach's new film, Jay Kelly, which is a Netflix production. He plays an actor having an identity crisis, apparently. And Adam Sandler's in it too, playing his manager. That sounds interesting. Plus, we're expecting people like Jude Law and Emma Stone on the red carpet. So their combined presence, it does more than just sell magazines, right? It sort of shapes the whole narrative around the festival's biggest films.
Exactly. These huge established stars bring a certain gravity and immediate recognition. They draw attention to films that might otherwise, struggle to get noticed right out of the gate, especially some of the smaller, maybe more challenging independent movies. It really does set the stage for all the cinematic conversations that follow.
Okay, so the stars definitely bring the buzz. But for a lot of film fans, myself included, the real excitement is often behind the camera. Venice has this incredible reputation for showcasing new stuff from really celebrated directors, often Oscar winners. Who are the big names bringing their latest visions this year? What makes this particular group stand out?
Oh, this year's director lineup is truly exceptional. It's a really potent mix of established masters and people known for pushing creative boundaries. It tells you the festival is serious about artistic depth, not just the glitz. The opening film on Wednesday night is from Paolo Sorrentino. He's a Venice regular, obviously famous for La Grande Bellezza. His new one is called La Grazia, a love story set in Italy. And he's working with Tony Servillo again, which is usually a very good sign for his films, the blend of visual beauty and human depth.
Right, Sorrentino opening is always a big deal, but the talent pool goes much deeper than that, doesn't it? We're talking some real heavy hitters.
We really are. Park Chan-wook, the brilliant South Korean director, he's back at the festival after 20 years. That's quite a homecoming. And Jarmusch is debuting in the main Venice competition for the first time. That means his film is eligible for the Golden Lion. It's called Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, and he describes it as a funny and sad film. Stars Cate Blanchett, Adam Driver, and his regular collaborator, Tom Waits. Now that sounds like classic Jarmusch, maybe that sort of deadpan, melancholic humor. Definitely one to watch. And the list keeps going. Werner Herzog is attending, Gus Van Sant too. It's packed.
And it's interesting, isn't it, how that level of talent even extends to who's leading the jury this year.
Yes, you've hit on a really key point there. It's not just who's showing films, but Alexander Payne, two-time Oscar winner, director of Sideways, he's heading the jury. His taste often leans towards nuanced, character-driven stories, so that might give us a clue about what the jury could favor. And then in the main competition, you've got new films from massive talents like Guillermo del Toro, his big-budget Frankenstein, Yorgos Lanthimos with Bugonia, and Catherine Bigelow with A House of Dynamite. All of them are competing for the Golden Lion, Venice's top prize.
Hmm.
It just underscores the festival's commitment to, well, really cutting-edge cinema across all sorts of genres.
Okay, it really sounds like there's something for pretty much every kind of moviegoer. Wrestling dramas, alien abductions, like you said, those deep documentaries. Venice seems to offer both the big, potentially commercial films and the smaller, maybe more experimental indie stuff.
Yeah.
What does that mix tell you about how they curate the festival?
The sheer range is impressive, isn't it? And I think it tells us Venice is very deliberately positioning itself as a broad church,
Hmm.
a really encompassing platform. It's not just for the art house crowd, and it's definitely not just for potential blockbusters. Look at Benny Safdie's The Smashing Machine. It stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as an aging wrestler. Seeing The Rock in a Safdie film at Venice. That's a fascinating combination. It speaks volumes about wanting to blur those lines between mainstream stars and serious drama. This kind of diversity means Venice stays relevant to, well, everyone, from critics to just regular folks looking for a great story. It's really smart curation, I think.
Yeah, The Rock in a Safdie film is definitely unexpected. And speaking of unexpected, or maybe highly anticipated pairings, in sci-fi we've got Yorgos Lanthimos and Emma Stone again. They just cleaned up during award season with Poor Things. Now they have Bugonia. It's about a CEO kidnapped by people who think she's an alien. Okay, that's quite a follow-up. And then Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, big budget, Oscar Isaac starring, and that one's heading to Netflix. Same with Catherine Bigelow's new film, A House of Dynamite, a political thriller with Idris Elba, also going to Netflix. This trend of streamers like Netflix and Amazon premiering their big titles at Venice, it feels like it's really picking up steam, doesn't it?
It's a crucial point, absolutely. The key insight here, I think, is that for these streamers, a Venice premiere isn't just about marketing buzz. It's about getting validation through curation. Think about it. There's so much content out there. A Golden Lion nomination or even just strong critical reviews out of Venice gives a film instant artistic credibility. It's something even huge marketing budgets can't quite buy. It basically flags it as a must-watch for people feeling overwhelmed by choice. So they're leveraging the traditional prestige of a festival like Venice to boost their digital impact. It shows how these festivals are adapting, becoming really vital platforms even for movies mainly designed for streaming.
Huh. That's a really smart way to look at it. It's a strategic move. Okay, so beyond the big dramas and genre films, you mentioned documentaries are strong too. What should we be looking out for there?
Yeah, the documentary selection looks equally strong. Gianfranco Rossi's Sotto le Nuvole, Below the Clouds. It's a black and white film about Naples. It's actually in the main competition. That's pretty rare and a big deal for a documentary. And then out of competition, you've got Sofia Coppola's profile of fashion designer Marc Jacobs. Laura Poitras has a new film about the investigative journalist Seymour Hersh. And there's also a profile of the British singer Maryanne Faithfull. So, art, fashion, journalism, music. It really shows the breadth of stories Venice wants to tell.
And it feels like it's not all escapism either. Some films seem to be looking directly at the world we live in right now, maybe bringing some difficult but vital stories into the spotlight. Even with all the glamour, some films seem set to really provoke discussion about current events.
That's a really sharp observation. It's fascinating how cinema often holds up that mirror, reflecting major global events and difficult narratives. And it raises that important question, doesn't it, about film's role in shaping how we talk about things, how we understand the complex issues, especially really sensitive ones. For example, Olivier Assayas has a film called The Wizard of the Kremlin. Jude Law plays Vladimir Putin during his rise to power, and obviously it's set against the backdrop of the ongoing war in Ukraine. A film like that is clearly intended to engage with some tough geopolitical realities.
Wow, okay. And then there's another one that sounds like it will generate intense debate. Kauthar Ben-Hania's The Voice of Hind Rajab, that's set in Gaza. It tells the true story I read of a 6-year-old Palestinian girl, Hind Rajab. She was killed in January 2024 by Israeli forces along with family members while trying to flee Gaza City. And the film actually uses the real audio recording of her call for help. That sounds incredibly powerful and harrowing.
Yes, and this specific film really underscores the festival's role in showcasing stories that demand our attention, stories that spark crucial conversations, no matter how difficult the subject. Venice provides that essential platform for these narratives to be seen, to be discussed, and hopefully allow audiences to engage with different, often challenging perspectives. And, it's really important for us to emphasize here, when we talk about these films, we're describing the content as it's presented in our sources. We're not endorsing any specific viewpoints within the films themselves, but simply highlighting their presence at the festival and their potential to engage with critical global issues.
Right, that makes sense. So, okay, switching gears slightly, but staying with the high stakes. For many people watching Venice, it's not just about the films themselves, but it's the start of the big race, the Oscars. How big a deal is Venice as a launchpad for Oscar contenders? Why is it often such a strong predictor? The pressure must be immense for the films in competition.
Oh, it's huge. Venice has absolutely earned its reputation as that first major signpost for award season. It builds critical momentum right at the start. Think about past Golden Lion winners like Nomadland, or films like Joker, which premiered here and went on to massive Oscar success. This year, there are 21 films battling it out in the main competition for that Golden Lion Award for Best Film. It's a hugely coveted prize. Winning it, or even just being a strong contender, can dramatically boost a film's global profile and pretty much guarantees it'll be a major player in the awards discussion for months. The jury, with Alexander Payne at the helm, they've got a big job on their hands. The winners are announced on September 6th, and those decisions will definitely ripple through the industry.
Wow. What an incredible, packed lineup for Venice this year. It really does feel, like you said, a microcosm of the whole film industry, doesn't it? You've got the high glamour, the groundbreaking directors, stories from every genre imaginable, and films that aren't afraid to tackle really tough current issues. It's this convergence point for art, commerce, and global conversation.
It truly is. And it's a powerful reminder, I think, that film at its very best isn't just entertainment. It's often a profound reflection of our world, our dreams, yes, but also our challenges. Which maybe raises a question for you, the listener. How do you think this incredible variety of films, from, say, sci-fi escapism like Bugonia to these really hard-hitting films about current events, how do they shape our collective sense of where cinema is going and what stories really demand our attention right now?
Yeah, that's a great question to think about. As you follow the news from the festival this week, maybe consider how these different films, whether they're hoping for box office gold or aiming to start difficult conversations, how they might influence not just the upcoming awards season, but the broader conversations we'll all be having about art, about society in the coming months. Which stories emerging from Venice this year do you think will stick with you the most?